Good to know. So, thank you for talking with me today. I
Yeah,
appreciate
no
it.
problem. No problem.
It helps me out with my course. Right now, I'm in English 102, just doing an interview. I have to do an interview of a person who's gone through the STEM program, which is the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics fields. You're a mathematician for teaching. What are your credentials?
So I've been teaching for the past, it's been now this going to my ninth year. So I started out teaching uh, middle school math, and now I'm doing high school math. I started off going trying to be an engineer, but that didn't work out. So
Yeah.
I went a history degree, and then somehow they put me in a math class, so I switched to teaching, and I'm here now. I mean,
Okay.
it's worked out that way.
So were you originally for a history degree or a mathematician degree?
Originally, I was going to be an engineer, actually.
Okay.
Originally, I was going to be an engineer, but I couldn't get into the U of H engineering program because my calculus scores were not high enough, and also I didn't do well in chemistry for engineers. So there's a saying in U of H that if you can hang in engineering, you can definitely do good in business.
Yeah.
Or business was college of technology. So I went to the college of technology. I got in. I started doing uh, information technology. Then I got sick with a lung collapse. And I figured, you know, this is the time to get my history degree so I can just come back and get my master's in technology. And that's what I ended up doing. I ended up just going to get my history degree because I love social studies and history and the world. And then I also like math. So it kind of worked out that way fine, just as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was very lucky. Now I got an MBA degree in project management and information systems. So kind of still work there. I still want to get my PhD as well. So
Yeah. Okay. So I have a couple questions that I'm just going to ask you. They're more of just basics. So it's more of your timeline of where you started and where you are now. So my first question is, how did you achieve your bachelor's and master's?
So I got my bachelor's degree at the University of Houston, main campus. It took me 6 years because I had to work and go to school at the same time. So it was a lot of family turmoil at the time. So honestly, I have to really thank God for doing everything. And I went through a lot when I was trying to get my history degree. I got sick, parents got through a divorce. I almost dropped out, and really, I just never given up. Just knowing that, you know what, there's a saying we have that if you can, the same way you started and got to college is the same way you're gonna finish. So yeah, if you're smart enough to get into college, you're smart enough to get out of it. So knowing that, I believe in myself, I believe in my destiny, my hope. Also had my godmother to help me out too, as inspiration. Um, so that's how I got through it. I knew it would be a long time working hard though, for sure. I mean, it would have been easy if I had to go to work and go to school, but
Yeah.
that's what most people do anyway. You're going to work and go to school at the same
Yeah. I mean, that's the kind of situation I'm in right now. I work 2 jobs and I go to school, so it's difficult, but it's doable. One thing also is, what do you mean by if you're smart enough to get into school, you're smart enough to get out of school? Do you think that?
Well, here's why I say smart enough. I mean that, basically, if you did well in high school and you really applied yourself well,
Yep.
and you didn't BS your time, you actually took the time to get ahead, and you got into a program, you can get out of it by applying the same work ethic and standards. Now, at the same time, I do admit there is some luck that goes into it. I'm not going to say a lie to people. I mean, there's the time that that I have to that you have to just take advantage of opportunity that other people wouldn't do. So, like my case, I was surprised when I graduated with honors. Actually, when I walked in there, yeah, I didn't know. I walked in to graduate and said, "Oh, you graduated with honors." I was like, Really? My GPA was that high? Oh, so you graduated with honors in the college of the actual department. I'm like, wow, pretty cool. So that's the thing. If you believe in yourself and you believe in your abilities and your work ethic, you can do well. Actually,
Yeah.
And, you just have that right person to encourage you to do well. You'll
I
never
agree.
get so so it really does help to have a good role model, a good mentor. It's in school. It really does. I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen so many of my friends drop out, didn't finish. In fact, this one friend of mine, he went through school. First 2 years, he couldn't pay for anything, and he ended up dropping out because he just didn't want to go to school. It just wasn't for him. So college is not for everyone. So I don't think it is.
Yeah.
I think it's overrated either. There is a value to knowledge and education, but you can achieve your dreams and goals if you can find a different path in college. But it
Yeah.
is definitely helpful, especially if you have a certain career you want to go for.
I agree. I agree
Yeah,
with that.
if you want to be a teacher, you got to go to college. No way around it.
Yeah.
So, college for that. If you want to be an engineer, you got to go to college for that. Those are like specialized, industries and jobs. But if you want to be a mechanic, if you want to be welder, you can go to college for that for just a little bit.
Yeah.
College. Yeah. So just
You get certificates. There's always that.
As long as you love what you do and what you do is enough for you to live off, that's what it matters. That's all it matters. If you're happy with what you do and what you do is makes you find meaning and purpose in that, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Yeah, people get hung up on the job and who's making the most money.
That's not always what matters. Sometimes the obtaining of knowledge and wanting to learn more is more important than just going to a classroom and being taught systematic knowledge. And I always think that when you get down to a subject and you get down to a field and you want to learn more about that field itself, you're going to apply yourself into becoming the best at it, or at least knowledgeable and respectable in the field that you're trying to learn. So I agree with that. Like, college is definitely a booster, but I'm older, so I'm 30 years old. I've tried college before and didn't apply myself at the beginning of it and didn't do as well as I should have. I had all the means in the world in order to do well, but it just wasn't for me at the time. And now that I'm in COVID and growing older and understanding that life is also not just about a skill set and talents, because you can be talented at a multitude of things, but when you can actually place knowledge behind your skill sets of talents, you're also able to excel and have momentum behind your own factors of doing, because applying the mind and the body is very important in order to become an expert, I believe.
I mean, for me, the word expert is very subjective. Like, I've been doing math for 9 years as a teacher, but I would never call myself an expert at math, because when you call yourself an expert, it's almost like no one can tell you, it's almost like you can't learn anything else.
No. Okay.
That's where I tell people, like, that's where, that whole hubris and the thing that better than everyone. I mean, I'm dealing with it right now in my hand with the doctor. And I told the doctor just to do a skin graft. He wouldn't listen to me. And now he's probably going to have to do the skin graft next week because he wouldn't listen to me because he thought he knew more. Like, yeah. You probably do know more about, surgery techniques.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm telling you that I'm going to take a while to heal, you have to go with the fastest healing method to get the person to heal. So, I don't know. It's sometimes common sense goes more a long way than being
Yes.
And if you're someone who believes that you can learn something new every day, you're gonna do just fine. I mean, the experts don't know everything in the world. I mean,
of course not.
Yeah. So, yeah. Did you
I think
because they're able to display a certain level of knowledge and talent for that position. That's really it.
I think an expert is someone who questions their own knowledge and their own reasonings more so than think that they know everything. Because an expert, yes, you are familiar with subjects and techniques, but at the same time, you also have to understand that there's more to life because it is ever evolving and it is ever growing, especially with the technological age that we are in today, where it isn't always black and white. So I think that an expert is a person who wants to learn. And your doctor himself may have thought that he knew the best answer because of the teachings and the experiences that he has gone through, but he also has to understand situational awareness to the factor that you are speaking about something that you are concerned about, and he has to also input that within the knowledge that he has learned. I think that's what an expert kind of understands, is that, hey, I don't know everything, and a person who can, yes, it is subjective, who can subject new information into my cognitive dissonance to learn more and to become a greater understanding of expertise. I think that's important as well. Like that's.
Oh yeah, I mean, basically, ultimately, anyone who's a teacher will tell you this: learning really begins when the student cares more than you. I mean, that's when the student cares more than you do, and they actually, become the master, show themselves able to correct your mistakes as a teacher. That's actually pretty amazing. That means that, hey, they're listening to you, they're paying attention. You have their trust. It's just really remarkable because as a teacher, I make mistakes all the time in my calculations. Yeah. And when the kids calculate, I say, thank you. That's what I want to see. And ultimately, if you're proud of what because high school is like, there's no need to ever be jealous of what anyone else has accomplished, right? Yeah. At all. Because ultimately, as a teacher, I say, well, I impact some kind of knowledge to them, but ultimately, at the end of the day, they did it themselves instead of God. So, what I did, I tried to inspire them, but ultimately, they had to be with them all the time to succeed. They had to cultivate it. It's like when you grow food, what food you need to water the plants and the seeds and so forth. You spread seeds of knowledge, and that way, they care more about the topics than you do, and they actually intent on knowing it because they're interested and curious. I mean, and that's great. That's what you want to see. That's what makes good teachers the good teachers. That they have that compassion. They want the kids to learn. They want the kids to do well. Even if I tell the kids all the time, it's not personal. You put them in the classroom, push them out. It's like, because the next, what's going to happen in a few more minutes? You're going to ask for help with something. And I laugh. I'm like, well, that's why I'm the adult and the teacher, and you're the student, because you need my help with this, and I'm here to show you that way. But if you don't want to go that way, that's fine. And that's it. So I don't know. Just you try to help them. You don't take it personally if you can't help them. Yeah. And ultimately, when they care more than you do, I know I've done my job.
Okay. I mean, for your students, do you think that their thirst of knowledge helps you to become a better teacher? Or do you think that your understanding of the topic in a deep sense of knowledge helps them become a student?
Well, okay, let me put it this way. I walk in the classroom knowing that I know more than the kids, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Because most of them are more than the students, right?
Yeah.
But ultimately, what helps you as a teacher is seeing them make mistakes and fix their mistakes. So that's how I believe that's how you learn the best. So I actually encourage them to make mistakes because I'm like, look, it's okay to make mistakes because this is how you ultimately learn, and you don't make the same mistake again, or repetitively too much times. So what helps me as a teacher is that basically I let the kids be themselves, but at the same time you have to set the expectations about what you want from them, and I mean that's it. They basically come in. I know more than they do, but that's okay because I make the positive assumption that they want to learn the content. So, and they show that through how they interact. And really, I mean, I deal with kids who are ankle monitors class. So, I mean, it's not like it's not they don't want to learn. I think every human being wants to learn. If you have a brain, if you wake up and you look around your surroundings, you absorb information,
Yep.
and you don't want to learn the same thing every day. So you want to learn something new. So I think it's within human nature to want to learn. So that's
Yes.
why as a teacher, it shouldn't be that hard to teach if you have patience. If you don't have patience and you understand that, hey, it's going to take some people a little bit longer to kind of get their shit together,
Yeah.
but it's eventually, it's going to happen. But most of them is going to happen. Some of them is never going to happen, and that's okay because you can't save everyone. You can't teach everyone. That's why in my classroom, the ones who want to learn, they come in and I teach them. The ones who don't, just go to the corner.
Do you think that the people who learn differently, like through kinetic, through uh, audible, and et cetera, um, how do you think teaching styles actually cater to people who learn differently? Because a person learns differently, and it's more difficult for a person to learn maybe mathematics than it is for a person to learn about how to grow a flower, or how
So
to.
yeah, that's the issue. The issue is that the basically the standardized testing only like teaches one kind of learner, the one who sits there and absorbs information and writes all the notes,
Yep.
use the resources, because all those nice things I do as a teacher, the station activity where you get to move and do different things, technology, playing with manipulators, all those things go away when you take a test. So ultimately, you have to, if it's just standardized testing that I end up doing, you have to teach the test. But if you actually have real autonomy in your classroom, then yeah, you can use all those different things and you can make a test to the student's best ability. So,
Do
the kids.
you? I'm going to stop you there. Do you think that you have autonomy in your classroom, or are you?
Oh, I don't have autonomy.
Yeah. Do you think you're restricted to actually teaching the curriculum that you're supposed to teach, rather than teaching the autonomy, and that's a self-sovereigning type of teaching to where people can learn on their own of um, through their
Now,
own volition.
okay, let me explain like where I teach. I teach at the GAUP. It's an alternative school for kids who have behavior issues.
Okay.
The ultimate thing there is this: are the kids sitting down and doing the work? Because if they're sitting down and doing the work, they call that learning. Now, yeah. So ideally, I mean, these kids don't come to school often. When they come, I'm they're so far behind in their grading and learning gaps. So I would kind of drop out anyways. It's really sad. So for me, I'm allowed to do what I want to do in my classroom as long as the classroom is running efficiently. No one says anything. So the issue for me is the resources for like stuff like manipulatives. So, but I'm free to use my own imagination, like drawing symbols and so on and so forth. And I can teach different methods of solving problems. Um, so I'm free to do all that. But the issue for me though is that you still have to teach them a test because they have to pass that test to get out of high school. And I know as a teacher, if I don't teach them to pass the test, I'm doing them a disservice if when I get out of high school. So if there was no standardized test, I'll be fine. But because there is, I gotta teach the test. So
It's like you can be free about how you teach and the things that you show these kids, but at the same time, they're always funneled into a standardized testing of how the state, federal, yada yada yada, is um, trying to make people into.
Well, I mean, you have to see, like, I mean, my case. Okay, so when you get to college, how does everyone learn in college?
They learn the same, which is kind of.
Now, that's essentially what you're trying to make them do. Now, I tell the students the truth. That's like, I know most of you guys will not want to go to college, and that's fine. As long as you have a plan to provide for yourself and your family, that's legal. That's fine. So the key for me is not getting ready for college, but getting ready for life. Because college is something that some women never even step into. But if they have life skills and social skills, they can do just fine. And positivity skills. So so that's really the key thing. But unfortunately, because of the test, you basically trying to fit a round person into a square peg. And that's not fair. Unfortunately, that's how the way it is, because they want everyone to go to college, because the goal is that Americans want to compete with the American government wants to compete with the rest of the world, but they really can't, because the education system does not suit the needs of their population. So.
Okay, I'm going to go off topic a little bit. Do you think that the American education system is actually comparable to the rest of the world's education system? And do you think that we're not up to par because the Eastern and the rest of the world has more of a understanding that they want to actually learn the subject rather than being force-fed and being forced into the next grade?
There's American education is pretty bad right now. The issue really right now is because of COVID, it really exposed the haves and the have-nots. Those who had technology in their home, a computer, for example, able to just get along just fine. And COVID does not. If you need the hands-on learning, you're not going to learn it from a webcam. You're just not going to.
Yeah.
And of course, he was great suffered because of it. So people just needed to be that face-to-face interaction in person. They couldn't get that. So that also hurt people. What the issue is, there's not, basically, they're trying to innovate, but it's really not. It's really done to make money. That's really the only reason why. It's not to help people. I mean, Finland, they have one of the best education systems in the world.
Who does? I'm sorry.
And yet they're able to. I mean, they're able to pay for it, of course, but also, here in this country, education is really determined by where you live. So the property taxes and where you live determines the quality of education you get. A kid that's living here in Fort Bend is not going to get the same quality of education as someone who's living in Katy. In Houston, I'm talking about Houston in general. And this is really a city. I'm not even talking about from the West Coast to the East Coast. Where you live determines the quality of education you get. Because education in the U.S. is not universal. They don't have a universal. What's it called? They don't have universal set standards. And the federal government tried to step in to unify that, but still, states are allowed to do what they want to do, because ultimately, in order for them to get those state funds, it comes down to showing that the kids can master the curriculum, i.e., state tests. If you don't get those scores in those state tests, you're not getting the funding. So.
Oh man, and that comes to the question: is just like, is really mastering a curriculum the best way to go about it, rather than to actually obtain things that would set people up for life skills and to be better human beings?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And in Texas, they know that. In fact, in Texas, they're giving the parents more of a choice to opt out of these things. Like, it was kind of funny as a teacher. Back in 2020, a lot of parents were shocked to get out of the STAR test. Now, I told them, I'm surprised you guys haven't figured this out, because Texas, you can opt out of the standardized test up to high school. Once you get to high school, you have to take the tests.
Yep.
So and they just promote the kids along, even though they don't take the test. So when they come to high school and they've never seen the test before, and now you expect them to pass, it's really not fair.
Yeah.
So, So at the end of the day, they say, yeah, we only give you choices, but at the end of the day, you don't really have a choice. If you want to get that high school diploma.
It's the illusion of a choice.
So that's why I tell the kids, yeah, you don't have to take the test technically to get to high school, but you might as well practice taking the test now so that when you get to high school, it's not, so much of a shock when you see the tests.
One thing also, higher education, and I know you've gone through the ringer. Do you think that high school and just the regular public education system is preparing students for higher education?
No, it's not. I know it's not. If for me, I'll tell you something you'll be shocked to hear. I actually took a remedial math class when I got to college. Shocking.
Because you're actually really good at that. When you're
I got in, and my last class I took before I graduated from high school was pre-calculus. So I'm not, a dummy. I had a B plus in pre-calculus, and I did very well. But then I came to college, and you had to take this compass test to place into your courses.
Yep.
And I did very well with reading and writing, but not with math. I think I was off like 5 points or something from just the basic. They said just like the higher basics. So I took my first semester. I took this. I guess you call it remedial algebra class.
Yeah, that's like
because
college algebra.
Plus in the class, I was like, well, but then I realized at the same time, maybe it's not because I don't know the content, but it's because I'm just not a good test taker. So which one is it? I mean, it's not. It can't be. You got people who really cannot take the test and who suck at the content. And also you have to realize that I didn't get used to a calculator. So you're giving a guy a calculator for the past my 9th grade year, my 11th grade year, or 10th grade year, they take it away when I get to college. So realizing, hey, you have to do this by hand now.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, you're taking away what we call study aids, resources that the kids use when they're in middle school and high school. It's gone now in college, as it should be. So. The kids want to do everything mentally, but the problem is their math facts are not strong enough. And a lot of them have this calculi where they can't quite see the numbers correctly. So that also hurts. So
do you think, and I just to compound upon your thought, do you think that the internet is also a resource that a lot of kids are using nowadays in order to come up with the answer for their homework assignments? And that when they have to take a test, it being taken away and restricted is also causing lower test scores in America, or just in general.
No, because I believe all the students should be allowed to have those resources.
Me too.
And when I say resources, I mean dictionaries or the calculator, because if the goal is to get them just to graduate from high school, then that's it. But if you want to get them ready for college,
yes.
They can't use those resources, and then you take those resources away from them when you get to college, they're going to do poorly. So it's weird. It's sad because they could let them use those resources, but when you get to high school, when you get to college, and it goes away. Now you tell them, okay, now you have to adapt, and some of them you just can't do it, and it's not fair to them.
Yeah.
It's like you have a baby and give them a pacifier this whole time, and burping them for them, and now you expect them to do it by themselves after you've done it for them for 5 years. It's going to take some time for them to get adjusted to it. So people just don't adjust. I was able to adjust okay, but then I realized that, man, my math skills, the highest my math skills go is probably up to calculus 2. That's it. And even that wasn't that good. Yeah. So
finding exponential derivatives and et cetera.
No. I'm still haunted by that limits question I missed on my first time I took calculus 1. Because of that single test, I literally did not get a B plus in calculus. I got the answer wrong only because I didn't show my work. That's it.
Oh.
That's it. Got the right answer, I just didn't show my work.
Yeah.
So it's a real bummer. That's why I don't try to penalize kids if they don't show their work too much, as long as I see you working the problem on the calculator. So for me, as long as you arrive at the right answer, I guess, as a mathematician, a lot of people worry about how do we get to the right answer. And that's great if you really care about the content.
Yes.
But most of the kids don't care about the content like that.
They just want to be correct.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's not like history where you can have multiple different answers.
Yep.
I mean, you can have an opinion about certain subject, but the fact of the matter is 2 times 2 is going to equal 4, and I can prove it. I prove it many different ways. So it's and of course that's also a problem in math because the kids will let out the answer and it's like come on, it kills everything. Because if the whole class knows the answer, what's the point of going over this?
Okay. So do you think that intelligence is supposed to be concentrated on one individual's mind rather than the flowering of all the information that's out there? So do you think that a person should know the answer and understand the answer rather than being able to utilize everything that is out there in order to have the correct answer as intelligence? What is intelligence, I guess, is the...
I mean, everyone has something they're intelligent in. Some people are very good with their hands as artists, mechanically. Some people, you can give them a piece of cell phone and they can literally hack the heck out of it. Some people are very good at common sense reasoning. Some people are good at writing. Some people are very good at gathering information. It's just, I believe every human being is good at something.
Yes.
So if you're good at that something that is your niche, that makes you unique, you have intelligence, Now, obviously, what do you use your intelligence for? That's what it can make you look stupid.
Okay.
I use my intelligence to to scam people. Like, okay, well, I said, well, yeah, you're smart, but you're using it for evil, wrong things.
For nefarious reasons.
Yeah, so yeah, everyone has intelligence. I mean, I don't really call that word intelligence. I prefer to use the word gifts because that's what it is. I mean, everyone has their gifts.
Yeah.
It's up to us to use our gifts to make the world a better place. Because that's really the only reason why we are on this planet, actually. And unfortunately, people have lost sight of that over the past several hundred years, sadly.
Yeah. But that's because morality and teachings have gone the other way rather than to be cemented in traditions and...
Yeah, it's all about money. That's true. Yeah. It's really all about money. If people if only we could have somehow abolished money, right? Then all these things actually do things for kindness out of kindness of the heart. And you see people actually willing to. I mean, it's funny. I had this client talking to me last week, telling me, "Oh my God, I could be you drive an hour just to see me, with all this gas prices." I'm like, I'm doing this to help you and your son. Yes, I'm going to get like what, $20 for it or whatever, $25 for it or whatever. But the ultimate goal is to help someone else, to pass it on to the next person, and the next person passes it on, to show acts of kindness to other people. So we can keep on flowering and watering that kind of kindness for everyone. So that's really what motivates me. So,
good.
But unfortunately, people are motivated more by intrinsically values. They're making money. Well, that doesn't motivate me at all. I'm not even impressed by how much money and accolades you have, possessions, degrees. What matters to me is how you treat other people. That's it. How you treat people. That to me is what matters the most.
I think that comes down to a person's ego. What I've heard in the past is a man's ego is their status, and a woman's ego is their beauty. I believe that a man's ego, and ego being a defense mechanism for us to survive in the world that we're placed in, because we weren't really asked to be born here. We were just born. And the spirit in itself, yes, it's behind the shell of the physical, but also at the same time, when you're born, you can't really stop being born. Like, you just can't be like, oh no, I'm done with this. Although a lot of people do on a regular basis by suicide, but for the most part, people can't just stop. You can't stop. But at the same time, it comes down to like, who we are for our ego is a status of what we think we are. You know what I mean? Like it comes to how do I view myself? How do you view yourself? And then a woman's ego is more of how beautiful and how presentable I am to a man in order to be yada yada
Again, I mean, there's to me, it's always been when it comes to women, it's the one who's the more peaceful, the guy's gonna be with, not the one that's the prettiest. So I don't. I mean, yes. I mean, I believe every human being has beauty physically. So it's a matter of you, acknowledging the beauty you do have. I mean, it took me a long time to admit that I actually have nice hair, and I'm happy I'm tall. But that's because of things that's happened in the past. So,
yeah.
So it's really. I mean, people should really. I mean, it's all about your self-esteem. How do you value yourself? Do you value yourself? Do you think you're a good person? Do you think you make positive contribution to the world? If you can ultimately look in the mirror and say, yes, I am a good person. I do good things. I do well. I'm going to make mistakes because there's no person on this planet who dies as a finished product. You're still learning and growing and changing.
Yep.
If you're not growing and changing, then something's wrong. Really, like if you're still the same person you were 10 years ago, okay, no, you did something wrong. You have to go back and see.
Is that even possible though? Like to think that time passes, like I am exactly the same way I've been. Like I'm so stubborn, I'm so resentful, and I'm so spiteful towards everything that I've learned in my life that I will allow myself to be the same. Is that even? That's not even. It's not productive. It's not good for you.
Of course not. I mean, that's why having goals and setting goals is very important. I mean, whenever I finish a goal, I make sure I check it off. I get a goal. I try to do new goals. It's just I have to work. You have to work towards something that's important for you. That's the way the selfishness comes in. When you set goals like like you're okay, you're gonna go to school, get your degrees. You're working two jobs. You're working towards a dream, a goal of yours. That's great. And everyone has those goals. Some people was to start a family. People was to provide a better life for their kids. Just something that gives you reason to wake up every day and to get out of bed and to charge forward. I wake up every day. Glad I go to work to help my students. That's what gives me purpose. So, and also to help other people, the people I meet every day. Just. It's okay, this person's going through this, how can I be a blessing in their lives, no matter what's going through them? And because I believe those people are the ones who end up being very blessed in this world.
Yeah.
Really, those are the people who are going to be very blessed in this world as we go on by. Like the people who are selfless, who have give of themselves to others, and yet still at the same time manage to accomplish their goals. That's just amazing to me. Because at the end of the day, we all have 24 hours, right?
Yep.
And for me, I use of my 24 hours. I use only like maybe 2 of those hours to myself, and then the rest of it I just spend sleeping and working. So
yeah,
and that sucks, But it's okay because it's only that way for 5 days out of the week, and the other 2 days out of the week I spend more time for myself. So it just depends how you look at things. I guess I look at things mathematically. I spend 10% of Monday through Friday of each of those days, focusing on myself, and the other, almost 90%, I spend helping myself and helping other people. Getting myself rest. So it's all about self-care if you can find that, because that balance is the key. And it is an art to be balanced. It really is. And to remain.
To understand that balance is important, and then also when you are out of balance, how to get back into that balance in order to not only be self-fulfilling, but also to be selfless and helping others as a teacher and as a worker or an employee or a student or anything. Because in honesty, when you can make someone's day better, not just through service or product, but through actual kinship and understanding of that person, then I think that you become a better person and you make that other person a better person.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, one of the common misconceptions I'm hearing, especially with millennials, is I'm too busy.
Oh man, I actually had a friend. Talk to me about
when you ask them, what do you do? They'll tell you, "Oh, I'm doing this with a friend." And they say, "Oh, that doesn't sound busy to me. It sounds like you made time for something that was important to you, something that was important to you."
Yeah.
So ultimately, no one is too busy for anyone. Yeah. I don't believe that's true for any set. And anyone who tells you they're too busy for you is not worth having in your life. I mean, that's just the truth. Even if you just met them, because that shows right away the lack of selflessness they have. Yeah. I mean, think of it this way: if the shoe was your other foot, and you came to someone and they needed your help, would you do everything you could to help them, despite what you were going through, or at least point them in the right direction if you couldn't help them?
Of course.
Yeah. So that's unfortunately here in this society that seems to gravitate towards the cult of the ego, the cult of the self. Everyone is too busy for everyone else, and that's why people are suffering unneeded. They don't need to suffer this much. I just met this friend on Tuesday who told me that she literally only eats maybe once a day or so. Jeez. So it's actually increasing for a lot of people. She's already, but no, I mean it's real. People really are suffering, and not because. And the craziest part about it is that there actually is enough to go around for everyone. I must repeat that. There is enough to go around for everyone. They throw away food all the time. I mean, I see it, and yet at the same time, and there's so many vacant homes in the whole society, more than we even have people, and of course, they still have no way to house people, of course. Yeah. So the key thing, I would love to, if I could abolish money and just have everyone just help each other for the common good. But unfortunately, there has to be a profit motive for everything. People have to see a reason why how am I being how am I being helped by doing this? I tell them you're being helped by your soul. You're planting the seeds of a better future for the rest of humankind. That's how you're helping. It's not about how much your wallet is growing every day. But sadly, that's just the world we live in, where people obsessed with money and wealth and fame. And
I think sometimes it comes into play of people taking advantage of people and being more nefarious and notorious at the same time, that I'm going to hurt you and I'm going to make you suffer more than I suffer because of my own mentality. And if money was abolished, then I will damn sure make sure that you are worse off than I am. And I think that it kind of comes down to, it's like, yes, if we had bartering, or we had humans being humans towards humans.
We had that though. The Native Americans did that for each other. We had that in the North American continent. They lived as a community. They traded. No one went hungry. No one went without food and shelter.
Yep.
So when people say that we cannot do it now, I'm like, no.
But do you think it's subjective? Do you think it's subjective in the sense that people didn't actually hurt other people back then as well?
Yes, they did. Yes, people went to war a lot because of the instinct of survival. But one thing I'm trying to get people to realize is that the earth itself is a finite resource.
Of course.
It's not going to be here forever. And you have infinite growth on this planet. It's not going to mix. Because we're already seeing the disasters around us because of it. And I'm telling people, ultimately, you have to decide, are we going to do the right thing and just abolish the profit motive of people getting wealthy off everyone else? Or are we finally just going to let just basically as a species be destroyed because we could not learn to coexist with each other and live with each other?
Yeah.
Because there's no reason for anyone to go to war. There's no reason for anyone to steal. These are things that the reason people do these things is because, unfortunately, it's because there's a lacking in resources because it's being hoarded by a very select few group of people.
Yeah.
So and that explains about education too. I mean, education in the United States, if you can pay for it, you go to college. If you can pay for it,
Yeah.
if you can pay for it, you don't go to college. You know, that's why people don't want to take loans. Say, well, I can't pay for them. Yeah, I know. It's sad. It should have to be this way. Like some really intelligent people are not able to share their gifts with the world because they can't afford to go to higher education. And that's sad.
Yep.
That's sad.
I'm paying it out of pocket, so I definitely feel the burden of trying to go to higher education. Like, it's not something that's easy, but it's something that I think is worthwhile. And especially in my later stage of life, I have the opportunity to actually do so, so I'm doing so. But so we're gonna kind of shift gears into touch your subject of race. So do you think that racially, as a black man, and let's call it for what it is, we're black men, do you think that it has been easier for you? Okay, let me go. As a person of color, did you have obstacles in your journey to higher education and graduating from
Okay,
your
so
institution?
here's what I'll say this, because this is kind of going to be a long touchy subject. I wasn't born in the United States. I came from a third world country, actually. I came from Nigeria. So when I came here, I'd never seen a black person before. I'd never seen a white person before. I'd never seen a Hispanic or an Asian person before. I was very fortunate to be raised by my grandmother, and she was one who told me that we're all God's children, and everyone who is in heaven will be God's elect. Doesn't matter if you're white, black, whatever. So when I got to the country, my first experience with a white person was not good because they called me the N-word. They said no. They said what? I'm trying to remember what he said exactly. He said I don't like niggers. Now I was like, I didn't know what he meant. I was like, I was only 9 years old. Like, what are you talking about? So I went and told my mom about it, and so yeah, that's a racial story here. And then as I grew up older and living in society, it's like they really, really divide each other according to their skin color, and even within the race, this colorism, even within the race, the black race, Hispanics, the sub-Indian continent, the lighter you are, supposedly, the more blessed you are. And I'm like, well, they can't control that though. They can't control that pigmentation.
Yeah.
So why should they be judged based on that itself? Now, I call myself a Nigerian, an Igbo American, because I'm of like both cultures. So I identify more culturally with African Americans than the Igbo people, because I've lived here for it's been 27 years now.
Okay.
Yeah. So I grew up in both countries, Nigeria and the United States. I have tattoos, and it started to look more like a black man, and I am a black man, but also culturally identified with Igbo in sense as well as with African American. So I'm from both cultures. I will say this: as an immigrant to the United States, you have a better chance to succeed than an actual black person in the United States. I'll tell you that right now, because if you legally come here, they actually wanted you here. I'm gonna emphasize that again for a lot of black people. If you legally came here, that means they actually wanted you here.
Yeah.
Wanted you here because they knew you could contribute to the society. Black people are more tolerated. I know, right? They are. They're very more tolerated here. I mean, they can't really, they've always wanted black people to leave the country. Liberia. In fact, the capital of Liberia is named after President Monroe. Monroe Doctrine, just and he was straight up racist as get. Like he hated black people,
Yeah.
and yet they named the city after him in another country. I mean, it's ridiculous, and at the same time, I find it really sad. I mean, I've always believed, like, can black people really achieve equality in the United States? I don't think they can. I really don't. Because you cannot be equal in a place where you were never wanted to begin with, and where they actually are trying to. They actually prefer, if you guys stay here, to be submissive to them, to the system, to those in charge. So, I mean, you have to look at. I mean, the idea of the police that was actually created from this fugitive slave capture, going around to capture slaves. That's where the cops came in from. So, as an immigrant, they want me, people like us here, like people who came from other third world countries here, because there's this conception that people who come outside the United States can come here and do well, but African Americans living here cannot because they're just lazy.
Do you think they're more bred and perceived as lazy than they actually are lazy?
I think it's a stereotype, sadly, from slavery days. It really is. It's one of those antebellum slave black stereotype that still existed, especially with African Americans who, quote unquote, did nothing. Picking cotton in the hot sun and not a lot of hard work. They had to import them because they initially tried to use the Native Americans first to do the same jobs, but they couldn't do it.
They would kill them.
They couldn't. Yeah, they basically hold up. So, and that's obviously a sad truth of that. No, I don't believe anyone's lazy. I believe everyone who is born actually wants to do well in life. It's just a matter of your circumstances, honestly. And were you able to rise above your circumstances with the right role model, and if you have a good positive influence in your life? There are people who've been born into really crappy situations who've done well. Yeah. So, it's unfortunate. The society stigmatizes a lot of it. And if you're really, if they say, oh, you go to this school, they just generalize you, you're just not good enough, and you're not smart enough. But I really believe if you want to get an education in this country, you can, because it's abundant everywhere. Companies will pay you to go to school. Yes. Companies will pay for your education if they're gonna say, hey, wait a minute, you're gonna stay with us and we invest in you. So if you invest, just think about investing in yourself. I mean, it's unfortunately because of money. It gets complicated because of loans you have to take out. But you are investing in time in yourself, and it's going to be worth it down the line. So,
do you think people invest?
I feel lazy. I see. Imagine being called lazy and you work 3 jobs.
Yeah.
You work 3 jobs. I mean, that's ridiculous. So,
do you think people invest enough time and are effective with their time? Because this goes back to people saying that they're busy. So I've had a friend and an associate, and they're actually a good friend. They said that we have more conveniences and commodities in our lives, but we still try to think that we're busy because we aren't effective with our time. We're just pretty much giving it away for what it's worth. Like, do you think that if people actually invested in themselves and are effective with the time that they have, that they would be better, not citizens, but human beings in general?
Well, I mean, people definitely have to be careful with the time they have. I mean, you like right now, you're obviously you're a student yourself, so you have to invest time in studying, going to work, but you also have to take care of yourself as well. Yes. You cannot, you're not good to anyone, to you're at your job, in school, to your family and friends, if you really run a low on battery all the time.
Yeah.
But that's where self-care is very important. So it really is, life is really all about balance. And that's why as a mathematician, I prefer looking at it from the numbers game. There's 168 hours in a week, right? And for a lot of people, they have to spend 40 of those hours working. right? So if you take that, that's about 4 out of 16. So that's approximately 25% of your time working, right? Just working. And then say you have to go ahead and sleep as well, right? So that's 7 hours a day. This is the recommended times 7, that's 49. So you do 49 plus 4, that's 89. So you're ready. So those two almost takes up, that's like what, 90 out of 168. So rounded up, that's around 10 out of 16. So yeah, I would say that's a little more than half. So you spend more than
3/5.
so you spend a little bit more than half of your time.
Yeah, about 3/5.
Yeah, you spend a little more than half your time every week sleeping and working, right?
Yep.
So if you do that math, okay, well that means that I have like around 48, 49, 50% of my time I can spend, bettering myself and helping other people, right? So
Yeah.
it really that's why I look at it that way, some of time management. If you divvy up those 168 hours and you go by percentages, you can squeeze in whatever you need to do. People who literally find time to have an affair and still work 3 jobs. It's just a matter of how much you want it. If you want something hard enough, you will take the time out of your day to get it done. You will. I mean, if the crackhead will take time out of the day to actually line up their drugs, so it really is. I mean, if you look at it as that way, you have half of the time you can spend. If you're not working. If you're working. If you're not working, you have even more time.
Yeah.
So those who are born with money, who are born with extra income, they already have their head start right there. So, yeah, I don't know. I believe also with technology as well. People have they've been able to become very disconnected with each other. We really have. Imagine someone talking to you at the same time and they're texting someone else. Like they're literally talking to you face to face and they're also on their phone texting someone else. So you're in a group text with like 50 other people and still talking to someone face to face. So how can you give that person your undivided attention to listen to anything you have to say? You just can't.
What are you finding of more value, the person that you're talking with or the 50 that you're talking with? It's kind of like the trolley problem.
Well, you should value the person who you're physically looking at because you can see their reaction. You can see their body language. You can see their emotions. You can't see that over a computer screen or a phone screen.
Yeah.
And emoji is the best that people can do. And that still is not fully accurate all the time. So, because even when I say emoji, I have to ask sometimes, what does that mean? So I don't know. It's more important that we learn to communicate in person than over the computer, over email. I think Zoom is a good place to start for people. That's why I'm glad that people are doing web hosting. Skyping and Zoom calls. I know people have the iPhone, FaceTime, and that's why I don't have an iPhone. Because people will FaceTime me all the time, and I can't stand that.
Yeah.
I can't stand that. I hate it. No. Because it's very inconsiderate. I mean, like, what if I'm literally driving to work, or what if I am sleeping and you're trying to FaceTime me? Like, seriously? You have to be a little bit considerate of other people and text them, hey, are you awake? Hey, can you talk? Hey, And most of the time, if most people are considerate of other people, they'll do that. But the ones who are not are the ones who just assume, help, you have nothing to do. I can just FaceTime. I'm like, that's a very different from a phone call. Because with a phone call, I can still keep doing what I'm doing, but with a FaceTime, I have to stop what I'm doing. And God forbid if you're driving, oh my God.
Then you have to multitask.
Well, I don't think humans are meant to multitasking. That's why we don't do it that well. At least men don't do it that well. Women are very good at it, but unfortunately, that's where some of them. I have a friend who's I worry about her health because she works a lot, and she also is a mom. And I'm like, when are you gonna have the time to just step back and enjoy life?
Yeah, all the roses.
Yeah, I'm 30. I'm about to be 36, and I work 9 months out of the year, and I spend the other 3 months enjoying life. So I want to. My next goal is to only work 6 months out of the year and enjoy life the other 6 months out of the year.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's really what that's what I believe we're on this planet, to enjoy life, not to work ourselves to death. That's why you have to work smart, not hard, and that's why people do go to college.
Yes.
You work smarter. There's nothing wrong with working with your hands. I mean, if that's what you want to do, that's great. And by all means, I support that. But if you want to work smarter and you want to, use your intelligence, your brain, you want to own a business, you want to generate just stuff like that for your family. That's fine. You're gonna have to go to school. There's some things you just have to go to school for.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, fortunately, I'm in that funnel of wanting to go to school in order to learn about software development and hopefully working for a company that can develop software for or enhance the software, or maybe be an entrepreneur on top of that and create my own software where I will probably only have to work 6 months out of the year enhancing it and updating it, and then just let people that I delegate to work on it. But that's a pipeline dream, but at the same time, it's something that is very possible, especially in this day and age where a lot of people are wanting better and more.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, everyone's trying to work smarter, not harder. I mean, the ones that are working harder right now, I fear sometimes about, no one knows they're going to leave this planet, of course.
Yes.
Can I die tomorrow knowing that I didn't live a good life? No, I couldn't say that. That's why I take joy. I mean, I worked harder when I was younger. I guess I'm still young. I'm 35. So
yeah. It's all relative.
But yeah, I mean, I worked multiple jobs, but now, I mean, I still work 2 jobs all year round, like you're doing right now.
Yeah.
But now I do that. I work 3 jobs 9 months out of the year. So now I'm going to try to do that for 6 months out of the year, and enjoy the rest of the year with my friends and family. That's it.
Yep.
So that's what I'm working toward. That's my goal. And smaller things to accomplish that goal. So there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But sadly, I have to work. I'm not going to overwork myself though. But I'm going to maintain balance of some kind.
Yes. So I'm going to ask you, can you identify your hardest accomplishment?
Oh, wow. I would say my hardest accomplishment was actually becoming a teacher. Because, and it's, you know what? No, you know what that is? Yeah, that is my hardest accomplishment. No. That was not my hardest accomplishment. No, that's not it. No. My hardest accomplishment, because now it's actually harder to become a teacher now. Actually, because you have to actually, so there's this test I have to take that was a generalist test. You have to pass the test itself, just one general score. But now you have to pass the different core sections each with a passing score. So now, I can teach, technically I can teach middle school math, English, and science, and social studies, right?
Okay.
But in order to do that now, you actually have to pass each of those individual tests. So knowing me, I know I would have sucked at the science part. So
yeah,
I never become a teacher now, So I know the test is just that, it's a test. So my hardest accomplishment was actually beginning my master's degree, because when I did my bachelor's degree, I was only working 1 job and going to school. But I have to work 2 jobs and go to school full time. That was difficult. Like those were, I don't miss those nights. I mean, my weekends were spent doing schoolwork, and my weekdays were spent working 2 jobs. That's it. Yep. So yeah, it was like no life whatsoever. And I had maybe a week between, at best. So, but again, it was I realized that, hey, I'm working towards something else. So in X amount of years, I'll accomplish my goal. Like, I mean, you're going to graduate in what, 3 or 4 years or so?
Just about, yeah.
So you're working towards that 3 or 4 year goal. So realize you have to sacrifice now to not sacrifice so much later.
Do you think you had mentors during that time to help you, or was it just the full willpower of your own volition that like, oh, I'm going to do this and I got this? Or do you think that you had a support system and that you had people behind you?
I have people behind me. I have my stepdad behind me, my mom, my godmother, God, my grandmother spirit. So that's what I mean again. But everyone has some kind of luck that could kind of come with it. Like some people just don't have that person to help them out. Like I'll give you an example. Jeff Bezos talks about how he's self-made.
Yeah.
That's a lie. Because he got $200,000 they used as an investment to launch Amazon from his parents.
Okay.
And he went to an Ivy League school. So it's a matter of going into some kind of privilege. Like myself, I was born into some privilege. I was born in a third world country where I was born into one of the wealthier families. So I could afford to travel overseas and go to live in another country, and do better. All of us are born with a little bit of privilege over another person. So to say that we did it all completely by ourselves is not true.
Yeah.
It's not true at all. You had God, you had, family supporting you, you had friends supporting you, you had, what else? You had a mentor. I don't think anyone is an island by themselves. I don't believe so. So, like I tell my students, they always say, "Oh, you did it all for me." I said, "No, I only inspired you, and it was already within you to do it within yourself." So yeah, she had me inspire you, because we can't. Not anyone can do everything completely by themselves or anyone's help.
Yes.
Not at all. So yes, I mean I had help, and ultimately yes, I had born with some lucky privileges. My grandmother was very insistent that I learn how to read, write, and spell, and do math by the time I was 5 years old. So I've been in school since I was 3.
Yep.
So I had and this was in a country where other people didn't have the opportunity to go to school at 3 years old. So yeah, so I know it was hard work, but also luck from a young age. The seeds were planted when I was very young. So having those expectations and having someone to hold you accountable to those expectations goes a long way.
My last question is, did the education system ready you for your career goals? Did the higher education system ready you for your career goals? Yeah.
No, because if it did, I wouldn't be switching. I wouldn't be leaving the education system. My plan is to go. My plan has always been to leave education after excellence. I've been in it for 9 years. I thought I'd be gone after 3 or 4, honestly.
Okay.
But it just I want to challenge myself. That's why I'm getting bored with education. It's not. When I say challenge myself, I don't want to become an administrator. That is not a challenge. That's actually more stressful to your life.
Okay.
You basically enforce the rules that you don't like. As a teacher, I can just say, well, I just didn't see that rule. I'm like, well, I just didn't know. So I can get off. I can just play ignorant. But the administrators, they literally have these meetings every single week about all the rules, and they have to adhere to all. It just, you don't have a lot of autonomy as an administrator. And you also have less time off. Yeah, you get more money, but money doesn't make up for all that. Yep. So education for me is not something I wanted to keep going into. So for me, what education did for me, basically the education I got from my grandmother is what helped me the most. And being able to actually like to read. I like to learn. I like being in the classroom. Actually, school was naturally where I felt comfortable in because I had a very bad home life. So for me, being able to go to school as a safe haven to develop well in school, it just became one of my safety places, safe spaces. So I actually like going to school. So for me, I've always liked education. I always liked the classroom. I just don't see it being any better now. And I cannot grow in it because, because I don't want to go up the ranks because I'm not trying to exploit people, basically.
Yeah.
So that's my issue. I'm not trying to exploit people. So I have to go ahead and go into, if I'm going to exploit people, I'll just do it in the private sector where they want you to exploit people. They actually want you to do all those things. And for me, go ahead and do my project management background, I'm just going to do that instead. And I do teach. I do have my own tutoring business. So, I'm able to teach how I want to teach that way. I have complete autonomy as a tutor. So I'm able to do what I want to do, but not in the classroom. So it works out fine. So that way, it lets me plant some of the seeds of what I've learned as a tutor, but ultimately I can teach the different learning styles. And that's what that's what people really love. That's what people know about teaching can be an art, but it can get so restricted because you're in the classroom and you have to do a certain way. You have to do about the testing. So,
do you think the tutoring and mentoring actually develops human beings into children that you're teaching more than would you in a classroom setting?
Yeah, because the kids I tutor, they actually already know they want to learn. It's kind of silly because one, their parents are making damn sure that I'm paying money for this. So you're gonna sit down and do this.
Yeah.
But also, here's a fact when it comes to kids: a child will only learn from a teacher they like. That's it. It really is that. If they like you, they will learn more from you. Yeah. So they'll sit down, they'll listen, and they'll do it because they trust you already. They know that, hey, this person actually wants me to do well in life. So that's why, kids actually are very good when it comes to sensing who actually cares about them. They really are. And the ones who care about them are the ones who are going to, who they're going to want to listen to and do well and want to learn from. So as a tutor, I already have that because I already developed those rapport. I start every session not talking about, I ask them, hey, how was school? What did you learn today? And then while we're in the lesson, I connect things that I know that they're kids because they like their video games, social media, all that crap. And we talk about that in the context of the lesson. So they say, okay, yeah, I'm learning, but also it's also very laid back. So it just comes naturally. Like, yeah, I'm learning, but it's not stressful. I'm not being forced to do this. It's just naturally fun.
It's organic.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the way it is. That's the way it should be. Yeah. So it really, the teacher sets the tone in their classroom. If the teachers lay back and they make learning fun and make it so that the kids can laugh, be themselves, the kids are gonna learn very, very well. They really are. So that's why your personality matters more, just as much as your knowledge of the content. No one's gonna want to learn from anyone who's stick up the ass.
Yeah.
I understand the content very well, but being around you is not a pleasant experience. So it doesn't matter if you've been teaching for 15 years or whatever. If you're not a pleasant person to be around, they're not gonna want to learn from you. So
two things on that. One thing is, do you think students get shamed and ashamed of their failures and aren't willing to learn as much? And then also, do you think that the pleasantries of just any human being causes people to be less willing to reciprocate their type of attitude towards that person who's being an asshole, essentially?
Well, yeah, this teacher I work with, all the kids complain about her all the time because of how she is. Because she's very mean to them and she's always saying things about them. And I would say, yeah, of course, you're not going to want to learn from that kind of person. A lot of the people who got into education are not really there to help people. They're there to make money off people. And that's really easy to do, honestly. It doesn't take a lot of intelligence to say, hey, I have this product. I want to sell it. How can I market it? To help people. But ultimately, the best way to help them is to listen to them. Really, that's the first way to help anyone. Listen to them. Let them say what's on their mind, what's bothering them.
Yeah.
Listen without trying to counteract anything they're trying to say. Acknowledge what they say. Acknowledge their feelings. Acknowledge that they have legitimate concerns.
Yep.
And also, through that, okay, well, now you have these concerns. Let's work together to alleviate these problems. And sadly, in education, that's not what happens. They don't listen to the kids. They don't. They don't listen to the kids. The kids know what the problems are, and they do these surveys all the time as in school. I know they don't look at it at all because ultimately it's all about money and the kids coming to school. If the kids just show up, the district has made their money for the day.
That seems to be like the corporate life. They don't care about whether or not you're actually having.
Why do they call them board members? The school board, like in the corporate board, you have people are elected. Well, yeah, you can vote them out, but at the same time, if they're not getting the funding, it doesn't matter. I mean, if their money's not coming in, no one's gonna have jobs, and companies gonna be really stressed out. And as long as people are paying their property, and you have to pay property taxes, that's why some districts they able to get property tax from 2 different districts where you live. So ultimately, as long as the kids, in fact, I'll say something that's very, very controversial. A student can come to class at 12 o'clock p.m. Class starts at 7. They come at 8 o'clock and they come at 12 o'clock and still get credit for the day. So how are you going to tell me the kid's going to learn anything of value if they're able to come to school at 12 o'clock and only go half a day, and you get full credit and you get full money for that kid being there for the whole day when they're only there for half a day at most?
Yeah.
Also for final exams, like I administer a final exam, it starts at 10 o'clock. No, it starts at 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock. This child comes at 10:30, and I'm expected to still give them the final exam. I'm like, so you're going to tell them they're going to do 30, 50 questions in 30 minutes?
Not even close, yeah.
College to do that, they're not even be allowed to take the final exam.
Yeah.
A lot of the kids are set up for failure because of the way it's done because of money. It's not about actually making sure the kids actually succeed in life. It's about just making money. So it's truly, truly sad. Truly sad. But at the end of the day, it's all about making money. And as long as the kids show up and sit down in the seats, they have the money for those board members to get their nice 6-figure salaries. And a lot of these board members don't even live in the community. Have you noticed that? Like what happened last year in Texas, where ERCOT, this regulatory electric board members, like half of the members didn't even live in the state of Texas, and they're making decisions about your state, and they don't live in your own state. That is the ultimate insult. But hey, as long as money's coming in, people look the other way. So that's just the corrupt nature we live under. That's really it. So yeah, I mean, education these days, if they would just take away the profit motive from everything and actually make it where they listen to the kids, the parents themselves, well, that's another story for itself.
Yeah.
But then the kids somewhere where they don't have to deal with the kids for 8 hours a day, so they can go to work. That's it.
Well, yeah, because they're at their own jobs, dealing with their own issues, and they push off the agenda of dealing with their children onto a teacher to refine and to build their child up in a society where they're going to grow up to be corporate slaves as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's why I myself, that's why I love tutoring, because I deal with the parents who actually give a damn. So
yeah,
it's different. It's like, oh wait, yes, you care about your kid doing well. Of course you do, but you're paying for it. But at the same time, now that's not to assume that parents though who don't pay don't care, because they do. My first year of teaching, I actually sent emails and I did phone calls and text messages to parents who were failing, because we're failing. And
Okay.
I showed the assignment, and I said, hey, if your kid does this, they can be passing. So I go above and beyond to make sure that the child doesn't fail. Because the point of a teacher is not to fail the student, is to teach the student how to do better.
Yes.
So give them opportunities to correct their mistakes. Don't fail them just because they made one mistake and they're haunted for the rest of their lives. No, you have to teach them, hey, you made a mistake, but you can correct your mistakes and do better the next
And
time.
that's where my first question came in as well as shame. Do you think that students who feel ashamed and who are ashamed in their curricular activities are less likely to be productive students or to want to actually learn? Because it's hard when you're failing and you're a failure. The concept of being a failure always leads to success. And as we grow older, we have to understand that we have to fail in order to succeed in life. But when you're a student and you're young and you're a growing mind, failing is the epitome of I can't do this and I should stop trying, I should give up. Rather than letting go of the effect that failing is just the step to being able to try harder and to do better because you did fail, and you should have that gumption and that grit in yourself to know that you're more than just a grade.
Yeah, the grading system is actually, in my opinion, it's actually counter motive. It's actually it's really counter to motivation, honestly, because
Okay.
grade to me is really arbitrary. I mean, I can give you a 50-question test and you miss what, two of them, so you got a 92. Okay, yes, you got 44 questions right or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not concerned about the ones you got right and you were showing me how you did your work and all that. I'm concerned with the ones you got wrong and why you got them wrong, because that to me is real education, to learn that, hey, in order to succeed, you're going to take steps. You're gonna have setbacks. There's not a single person on this planet who has not had setbacks. So I use that as a teachable moment. It's okay that you did not earn a higher grade, but the ones you got wrong, quote unquote,
Yep.
let's those. Let's see what you did wrong. Give them similar questions again, a second try, and let them raise their grade, because that will do so much to boost their self-esteem and confidence. Because I've seen, I mean, with this child at tutor, he wasn't confident in math. And now his confidence is brimming to the point where he just looks at it and he just knows what to do right away. It's not because, again, that he was very intelligent, he just lacked confidence because he had some setbacks and he probably couldn't overcome them. But
Okay.
here he's able to achieve with confidence. And that's the thing, as a teacher, you want to build their confidence and trust that it's okay to get answers wrong.
Yes.
And this is why we do this. It's okay. I expect us to all get things wrong every day. So, and that's where it starts. You have to encourage the kid that it's okay. We're going to make mistakes, but we're going to learn from mistakes and we're going to get a better grade the next time. And no matter what, even my student, she got a 77. I told her, I'm happy with you because I know you did the best you could. I said, now let's look at the ones you got wrong and let's see what we can learn from it. And she's like, oh yeah, I know I did wrong. I said, yes. So now you know what you did wrong. Now, when you see the exact same question on the final exam, you will know what to do. So that is ultimately where learning comes in place, that you have to have setbacks. Because no one achieved anything without going through struggle in the first place.
Yeah.
No one has.
So shame can be built into confidence by learning, applying, and repetition.
Yeah, yes, because I don't believe practice makes perfect, because perfection does not exist.
Yeah.
However, practice can make you better at something. You may not be the best, the most perfect person at it, but you can be better every single day. And that's really what you try to be. I mean, at the end of the day, every day you try to be a better person every single day. It's small, if you can. Whatever goal you set forth for yourself, that is losing weight, whatever is passing with a certain grade, credit score, whatever it is. You have to set small goals every day, and and feel better about yourself every day to ultimately achieve those goals. Because really, what matters is right now. Doing what you have to do right now to get to where you want to be in the next 3 or 4 or 5 years. So, and realizing that you are going to have setbacks, and that's okay.
Yep.
As you finish, as long as you finish strong, that's what matters. Not how you start, it's how you finish.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But okay, I'm going to end the interview or the recording. I think this is suffice for what I need it to be. And
You send me that video when you have a chance. I'd like to post it on YouTube one day.
wait, come again?
I say you should send me that video when you have a chance. I can post it on YouTube one day.
Oh yeah, of course. I'm going to end the recording and